Beyond Apollo. When Apollo 17 lifted off from the moon in 1972, no one imagined humanity's return would take over half a century. That wait is finally ending. Artemis 2 will be the first crewed mission to the moon in more than 50 years. However, this isn't a landing mission. This is a full-scale dress rehearsal for the road ahead. The Artemis program isn't designed for a one-time visit. In later phases, its goals expand toward establishing permanent off-world bases beyond Earth. These ambitions are extremely challenging and costly. Achieving all of this in a single mission is not currently possible from a technical or safety standpoint. That's why the program was designed as a sequence of missions, each one building safely toward the final objective. Even though they may look like simple numbers to us, each mission lays the groundwork for the next. In 2022, the Orion spacecraft spent weeks orbiting the moon. The heat shield was tested, communication systems were validated, and long-duration deep spaceflight was proven. But there was no one inside, so the next step was inevitable. Artemis 2 is the crewed lunar flyby. Astronauts will fly around the moon, test Orion's durability firsthand, and spend days in deep space. This is the first crewed lunar flight of the modern era. And because it determines the fate of all future missions, Artemis 2 is the most critical link in the chain. After this comes Artemis 3, the lunar landing mission. And beyond that, Artemis 4, 5, and 6 will focus on building lunar orbit infrastructure, establishing surface bases, and preparing for Mars. Crew selection. The astronauts selected for this mission weren't picked at random. Each one represents a different risk scenario and brings a specific skill set to the table. Reed Wiseman is the mission commander. He spent nearly 20 years as a Navy combat pilot. Decision-making under extreme stress is second nature to him. He's here because he's been in space for extended periods and knows how to manage crises. Victor Glover is also a pilot who has flown hundreds of experimental aircraft missions, including first crewed flights. Christina Koch is the mission specialist. She's an electrical engineer who has personally experienced the effects of space on the human body. She'll be managing Orion system performance and critical safety procedures. And finally, Jeremy Hansen. He's a Canadian Air Force combat pilot and test pilot. If successful, he will be the first non-American astronaut to travel beyond low Earth orbit. What makes this journey possible is the Space Launch System. It stands 98 meters tall, roughly the height of a 30-story building. At liftoff, it generates 15% more thrust than the legendary Saturn V, the rocket that took humanity to the moon during the Apollo era. Orion Spacecraft. Orion isn't just designed to get to the moon, it's designed to keep humans alive in deep space. When the mission ends, this is the only part that will return to Earth. The spacecraft consists of two main sections, the service module and the crew module. The crew module is the only part of Orion where astronauts will live. They'll spend the entire mission here, managing systems, eating, exercising, and sleeping. This module also has larger windows compared to Apollo modules. Astronauts will be able to look out and witness breathtaking views that only a handful of people in history have ever seen. 4 large solar arrays are attached to the service module. These solar panels generate power for everything: life support, heating, navigation computers, and communication systems. Finally, there's one more critical piece on Orion that exists solely to protect the crew: the launch abort system. If something goes catastrophically wrong during launch, such as an explosion risk, the launch abort system can separate Orion from the rocket in milliseconds and propel it to a safe distance. The first 24 hours. Artemis 2 will launch at Kennedy Space Center in Florida. The earliest launch date is set for February 6th. When the countdown reaches 0, all 4 RS-25 engines at the base of the core stage and the 2 massive solid rocket boosters ignite simultaneously. The energy released at liftoff is so immense that the pad's sound suppression system will dump massive amounts of water within seconds. The purpose is to absorb the acoustic energy from the rocket's engines and prevent it from bouncing back and damaging the rocket. Any malfunction in the first few seconds could lead to catastrophe. If a problem is detected in the first few minutes, the system can fire and pull Orion away from the rocket. If everything goes as planned, about 2 minutes after liftoff, the two solid rocket boosters will burn through their fuel and separate from the rocket at an altitude of 45 kilometers. In those first 2 minutes, astronauts will feel forces pressing them into their seats at 3 times their body weight. After the boosters separate, the engines in the core stage continue pushing the rocket toward orbit. About 8 minutes after launch, the core stage separates, and only the upper stage and the Orion spacecraft remain. Contrary to what many might expect, Orion won't head straight to the moon. The astronauts will spend about 24 hours in orbit. During this period, astronauts will run final checks on the capsule's life support systems and practice manual control of the spacecraft. If everything up to this point goes according to plan, the mission reaches its most exciting moment. Trans-lunar injection. This is the point of no return. The engine in the upper stage fires one last time, accelerating Orion and directing it toward the moon. After this maneuver, Orion is no longer powered by engines. It's moving purely on momentum and gravitational balance for a 4-day journey through space. The far side. At the end of the 4th day, Orion will approach within 7,500 kilometers of the lunar surface. It will follow a free return trajectory, so if a propulsion failure occurs at this point, the moon's gravity will naturally send Orion back toward Earth. When Orion passes over the far side, all communication with Earth will be cut off. For about 45 minutes, the astronauts will have to rely entirely on themselves. During this time, they'll have the chance to take in breathtaking lunar views no human has ever seen before. Orion will redirect itself by using only lunar gravity to head back toward Earth without burning additional fuel. This free return trajectory ensures that the return journey will also take about 4 days. Re-entry. After final checks on days 8 and 9, Orion will enter the atmosphere on day 10 over the Pacific Ocean at 40,000 kilometers per hour. The heat shield on the bottom of the capsule will be exposed to temperatures of approximately 2,800 degrees Celsius. The shield will burn away in a controlled manner, protecting the crew inside. When the speed drops enough, at an altitude of about 9 kilometers, 2 small parachutes will deploy to stabilize the capsule. Then 3 large main parachutes will open. These parachutes will slow Orion to a safe speed for splashdown. At that point, the Artemis 2 mission will come to an end. The road ahead. As I mentioned at the beginning, this mission is a flyby. After Artemis 2, the next major step comes with Artemis 3, scheduled for no earlier than 2027, when humans will land on the moon once again. In 2028, Artemis 4 will begin assembling the Gateway space station in lunar orbit. From there, NASA plans a steady cadence of 1 Artemis mission per year, expanding Gateway and working toward the Artemis base camp on the surface. Together, these missions form a chain of progress, leading ultimately to a crewed journey to Mars in the late 2030s. If you liked this video, don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you in the next video.